It feels like everything is closing in on Tommy at once. The pressure, the grief, the memories he never wanted to face again. In Landman Season 2, Episode 5, you can feel it building in every quiet moment and every sharp look. This is the episode where Tommy doesn't just struggle anymore. This is the episode where he reaches the edge. And once he's there, there's no turning back. Section 1. Landman. Season 2 keeps proving that this story is not slowing down, and Episode 5 might be the most emotionally heavy chapter so far. From the very start, you can sense that Tommy is running on empty. He's been holding himself together for too long, pushing forward even when everything around him is falling apart. This episode doesn't rush his breaking point. Instead, it lets the tension sit there, quietly, like a storm waiting to explode. We see a man who has spent his whole life surviving, now being asked to endure more than anyone should. The loss of his mother is still fresh, and you can tell it hasn't even begun to settle. Grief hangs over him like a shadow, and no matter where he goes, it follows. At the same time, Cammy Miller continues to move forward at full speed, almost as if stopping would force her to feel too much. There's something heartbreaking about the way she refuses to slow down. While everyone else is emotionally drained, Cammy is focused, determined, and desperate to keep everything alive. The company, the project, and most importantly, her late husband's legacy. You can feel how much weight she's carrying, even when she doesn't say it out loud. She's not chasing power or money for selfish reasons. She's fighting to keep her world from collapsing completely. And this is where Tommy's frustration starts to grow. He sees the danger coming long before anyone else does. He knows exactly what kind of man Galino is, and he understands the cost of getting involved with him again. When Tommy tries to warn Cammy, it's not just business advice. It's personal. It's fear. It's a man trying to protect someone from walking straight into a fire. But Cammy isn't in a position to choose safety. For her, this deal isn't about risk anymore. It's about survival. When every other door has closed, Galino becomes the only option left standing, even if that option is toxic. The tragedy of it all is that both of them are right in their own way. Tommy knows Galino is dangerous, and he's not wrong. Cammy knows that without this deal, everything she's worked to hold together could fall apart overnight. The show does such a powerful job of placing them on opposite sides of the same impossible situation. You can see the pain in their conversations, the unspoken understanding that there are no good choices left, only bad ones and worse ones. As Episode 5 moves forward, the tension doesn't explode right away. It tightens. Every scene adds another layer of stress onto Tommy's shoulders. He's grieving. He's angry. He's exhausted. And most of all, he's tired of being pulled back into a world he fought so hard to escape. Being forced to deal with Galino again feels like reopening an old wound that never healed properly. This isn't just business history between them. It's personal history, filled with mistakes, blood, and regret. You can tell that Tommy is barely holding himself together, and the scariest part is how calm he looks on the surface. He's not yelling, he's not losing control yet. But his silence speaks louder than words. It's the silence of a man who has reached his limit and knows it. Every look he gives, every pause before he speaks, carries the weight of everything he's been through. And deep down, you can feel it coming. That moment where he finally can't take it anymore. Episode 5 takes a sharp turn when Tommy is forced back into Galino's world, and the air immediately feels heavier. The meeting isn't loud or chaotic at first, but that's what makes it so unsettling. Everything is controlled, polite on the surface, yet full of threats underneath. Galino doesn't need to raise his voice to remind Tommy who he is. His presence alone does that. And for Tommy, walking into that room feels like stepping back into a life he barely survived. He's there for Cammy, representing her and the company they both sacrificed so much for, but you can tell this is costing him more than he's willing to admit. Every second he sits across from Galino, it's like pieces of his past are crawling back onto his shoulders. What makes this scene so intense is how personal it becomes so quickly. Business stops being business the moment Galino brings up Tommy's son. That's the line. You can actually feel the shift in Tommy's body language when that happens. His patience thins, his jaw tightens, and suddenly the calm he's been holding onto starts to crack. Galino knows exactly what he's doing. He pokes at old wounds, tests boundaries, and reminds Tommy that he still has power over him. And for a brief moment, it looks like Galino enjoys watching Tommy struggle to keep himself under control. This is where the title really starts to make sense. Tommy can't take it anymore. Not the manipulation, not the threats disguised as conversation, not the way Galino treats his family like leverage. The tension builds so fast that it almost feels unreal. One second they're talking, the next second the situation turns sharp and dangerous. Tommy's hand going for his gun isn't random or reckless. It's instinct. It's the reaction of a man who has been pushed past his limit while already standing on the edge. He's grieving his mother, carrying years of unresolved trauma, and now someone is threatening the few things he still loves. In that moment, it feels like everything he's been holding inside is ready to explode. And honestly, it's hard not to understand him. This isn't a man looking for trouble. This is a man who has been backed into a corner over and over again. He's stretched thin, emotionally drained, and running on fumes. The show doesn't paint him as a hero or a villain here. It paints him as human, flawed, wounded, and dangerously close to losing control. Knowing that he just buried his mother in the previous episode makes this hit even harder. From the funeral onward, you could already sense that something inside Tommy had cracked. Episode 5 just keeps pressing on that fracture, refusing to give him any space to breathe. At the same time, Cammy's position makes everything even more complicated. She needs this deal to survive, and Tommy knows it. That's what traps him. No matter how much he hates Galino, walking away could destroy everything Cammy is trying to save. Her fear is quiet but powerful. If this investment falls apart, the company could collapse, her late husband's legacy could disappear, and all the sacrifices she's made would be for nothing. For her, dealing with Galino isn't about trust. It's about necessity. And that reality makes Tommy's situation even more painful, because protecting her might mean destroying himself. By the end of this part of the episode, it becomes clear that Tommy isn't just fighting Galino. He's fighting his own past, his grief, and the version of himself he's tried so hard to leave behind. The danger isn't only in the room with Galino. It's inside Tommy, building quietly, waiting for the moment it finally breaks free. While the tension with Galino pushes Tommy closer to the edge, Episode 5 also turns inward, forcing him to face parts of his life he's spent decades avoiding. Being back in his childhood home is not comforting. It's suffocating. Every room carries memories he never wanted to revisit, and you can feel how much it takes out of him just to stand there. This isn't nostalgia. This is pain resurfacing. The show has hinted before that Tommy's upbringing was complicated, but this episode finally slows down long enough to let us see the damage up close. And once those cracks appear, they don't stop spreading. The emotional center of this episode comes from a single, quiet question. Ariana asks why no one has shared a happy memory about Tommy's mom. It's such a simple thing to ask, yet it completely changes the atmosphere. The room goes still, and you can almost hear Tommy deciding whether to keep the door closed or finally let someone see what's behind it. When he speaks, it's not dramatic or loud. It's tired. It's honest. And that's what makes it so devastating. He tells the story of saving his mother from drowning when he was just a child, believing he was doing something brave. Instead of gratitude, he was met with rage. Cold, violent anger that no child should ever experience. That moment explains so much about who Tommy is. His childhood didn't fade away over time. It ended suddenly in that bathtub. Hearing him say it out loud feels like watching years of silence finally break. Billy Bob Thornton's delivery doesn't ask for sympathy. It just tells the truth, and that truth lands hard. The pain in his voice isn't fresh, but it's never healed either. It's the kind of wound you learn to live with, even though it shapes everything you become. Then comes the deeper truth behind his mother's collapse. The loss of his baby sister to SIDS shattered her completely. Grief consumed her, pulled her into a darkness she never escaped. She numbed herself, shut down, and the family slowly fell apart around her. Tommy lost his mother long before she died, and TL lost the woman he loved in a different, equally painful way. Hearing all of this reframes the way we see Tommy's anger, his distance, and his need for control. He didn't grow up feeling safe. He grew up learning that love could disappear without warning. This emotional release doesn't just affect Tommy. It changes the entire family dynamic. His children start to see him differently, not just as a tough, closed-off man, but as someone who has carried unbearable pain for most of his life. For the first time, Tommy realizes that opening up doesn't make him weaker. It connects him to the people he's been trying to protect. And in a quiet but powerful move, he does something that feels huge. He brings his father home to live with him. It's not loud or dramatic, but it feels like the first real step toward healing something that's been broken for generations. At the same time, there's an unease that never fully leaves this episode. From the teaser alone, it's clear that TL is declining. His eyesight, his movements, the small moments of confusion, they all add up. There's a sense that the show is slowly preparing us for something painful. And that makes everything Tommy does feel heavier. Like he's racing against time, trying to fix what he can before it's too late. Episode 5 doesn't give us closure. It gives us truth. And sometimes that hurts even more. While the tension with Galino pushes Tommy closer to the edge, Episode 5 also turns inward, forcing him to face parts of his life he spent decades avoiding. Being back in his childhood home is not comforting. It's suffocating. Every room carries memories he never wanted to revisit, and you can feel how much it takes out of him just to stand there. This isn't nostalgia. This is pain resurfacing. The show has hinted before that Tommy's upbringing was complicated, but this episode finally slows down long enough to let us see the damage up close. And once those cracks appear, they don't stop spreading. The emotional center of this episode comes from a single, quiet question. Ariana asks why no one has shared a happy memory about Tommy.